Hello and welcome to another video from me, this tutor. In this video we're going to be looking through a fact question for the Britain Health and People topic for AQA, and we're going to be looking at the development of understanding of disease and which factor was the most important. So here's our question then, question 4 in the exam. So to what extent was individual genius the most important factor in the development of our understanding of disease in Britain? So then it says, explain your answer with reference to the role of individual genius and other factors. Use a range of examples from across your study from this health and people topic from 1000 AD to present day. 16 marks. So as we've done in other videos, if you've seen some other videos, you'll realize that we try and come up with a success criteria. We're thinking about what does the mark scheme show? What skills we need to use to get really good marks? So look back over that question and find this question in your revision guide. You can start to make a note of some of the key skills you think you need to show. So pause me now and have a think. Okay, so here's what I've gone for. Now, I think 16 marks needs, if you can do it, 3 peel paragraphs. 1 factor per paragraph is required. Now, this is a 16-mark question, so you should be able to do the maths in this exam, and the amount of marks plus half again is how long you have for each question. So you have 24 minutes for this question to do your 3 paragraphs and a short conclusion. That should be enough time. So if you can do 3 paragraphs and conclusion, then go for it, because if you've got 1 paragraph not so good, it's great to have an extra one. And also 3 paragraphs means you can cover more of the time period and get more of the marks together, as you'll find out in a minute. So each paragraph should be a different factor. You've been given the factor of individual genius and then do 2 other factors. This is not an exam where you go, yes, individual genius, then no individual genius. You've got to do 3 different factors. Factors are war, superstition, religion, government, communication, science, technology, individual genius, and luck/chance. You need to try and cover lots of the topic. It says there to cover across your study, it says. So therefore we need some examples from a range of time periods. Now, in your revision guide, I put this very clearly into medieval time, Reformation time, 1800s and 1900s. So try and cover 3 of those time periods. Most questions over the last few years have required 3 time periods. 1 or 2 have required 2 time periods, but you won't know when you're doing your exam, so try and cover 3 time periods. Then you need to make sure, after you've given your examples from those time periods, explain how this has led to an increased understanding of disease. So what has been the impact? Okay, apart from not giving enough time periods and not giving enough factors, this is the other big error people make. They don't explain the impact of their factors. So if you don't explain the impact, if you don't cover enough time periods, and if you don't cover enough factors, you will not get more than 8 marks in this question. So finally, the last thing to do is evaluate. If you're trying to say to what extent or is individual genius most important, we've got to evaluate the factor. We've got to say this was partly the case or mostly the case, and we need to give strengths and weaknesses. We can do that in our individual paragraphs and also in our conclusion. Okay, so let's start planning our answer now. Now I've given you 3 factors here. I've given you individual genius, chance/luck, and also religion. Now you might think religion's not the most important in developing our understanding of disease, but if you really think about it, it does cause a few theories that develop ideas. And it also gives us an opportunity to go back to the medieval time and cover another time period quite easily. Therefore, I'd pretty much always recommend including religion in this answer because you can cover the medieval time. Okay, so now what I'd like to do then, have a think about these 3 factors and see if you can find some examples in your revision guide notes and fill in some really good examples about how individual genius, chance/luck, or religion leads to development in understanding of disease. Now, give a little tip here. I'd be starting with Louis Pasteur if I was doing individual genius. All right, away you go. Okay, so here are my ideas then. So obviously I've started with Louis Pasteur for individual genius and germ theory, and he suggested that germs might cause disease. So then we need to go to Koch, and he does prove that germs cause disease with his anthrax experiments. And then we could talk about Pasteur and Jenner. They further developed this idea of understanding of disease by showing that vaccinations can prevent disease, showing obviously that bacteria causing disease, but also that bacteria can be stopped with weakened forms of bacteria, which shows an understanding of disease also. We've got chance and luck. So Jenna would be a really good person here. You've got to make sure you're linking smallpox and cowpox to understanding of disease rather than just he did a vaccination. So he's suggesting that disease is not miasma and therefore it's not air related, and our understanding is improved because it's more to do with things in the body, and that's what the vaccination suggests in terms of understanding of disease rather than just he's made a great treatment. The question is not asking that. Fleming found penicillin killing bacteria. This further showed that bacteria caused disease as a drug was stopping it, and showed that understanding that you could stop this bacteria in your body. Religion then. So religion showed that God is a cause of disease. The church promoted that God caused diseases due to sin. However, later on, the church promoted the four humours, didn't they? They said that Galen's ideas were great and they really liked them. So this is showing an end to supernatural understanding and an idea that God was causing disease. And also the Black Death, 40 to 50% of people died, therefore further suggesting religion was not a major cause of disease. Okay, so we've got our ideas. So how are we going to write this? Well, here's an idea of a writing frame. So obviously we make a point. Individual genius was partly or very much important in the cause of understanding disease because, and we set a point together. Then we say, for example, so we want to then maybe talk about an example, maybe Louis Pasteur. So this helped understand disease because, and talk about its impact. So what was the impact of germ theory on our beliefs and understanding of disease? And then furthermore, maybe go to Koch or somebody else to talk about our understanding of disease and explain their impact as well. Obviously, if you don't think that's so important, you'd say a however at the end. So let's go through this together then, shall we? So find this in a revision guide and writing your first sentence. So individual genius was very important to the cause of understanding disease as or because, and set out your reason. If you've chosen to say it's only partly important, good luck with that argument, but you can go for that if you like, but I'd be suggesting it's probably very important, really. Okay, so go for it with an opening reason. Okay, so here's my idea. So I've said they obviously a cause of understanding of disease as these people came up with the revolutionary new ideas, like obviously we'll then link to germ theory in a moment. So now give your example. You want to go to Louis Pasteur, of course, and germ theory. So give an example of what he did. Okay, so I've said, for example, Pasteur proved that germs caused things to go bad and disproved spontaneous generation with his swan neck vase experiment. So now we want to explain the impact of this. So this helped an understanding of disease because, okay, so what was the impact? How did this change things? Away you go. So I've said this helped an understanding of disease as it showed that bacteria made things go bad. Therefore, Pasteur's suggesting in his 1861 germ theory, germs could also make humans go bad. This led to Koch using his genius to prove that bacteria did cause disease by identifying the anthrax bacteria and proving it caused disease in an experiment with mice. This meant that individual genius had proven bacteria caused disease. Okay, so I've probably stolen your next idea there because I linked to Robert Koch and how Pasteur inspired him. So I've given two individual geniuses and one, but I've given a really detailed impact, massively detailed impact about how individual genius has led to an understanding of disease. I can still talk about Jenner and Pasteur, perhaps, with their vaccines here and how that shows understanding of disease. Not treatments, remember, understanding of disease, because that's what the question's asking. So if you want to give that a go with Jenner and Pasteur from our plan, pause me now and give it a go. Okay, so here's my idea. I've said Jenner and Pasteur furthered the understanding of disease by both showing that diseases could be stopped with vaccines. The vaccine discoveries developed understanding as they showed that diseases could be prevented with weakened forms of bacteria and therefore disproved theories like miasma as it showed that bacteria were causing disease. Okay, so on to the next one then. So we've got chance and luck. So here's my writing frame. Here's the ideas. So I'm not going to talk you through in detail. I'm just going to show you an example answer once you've written yours. So pause me now and go for it. And remember to explain your examples with an impact. Okay, so here's my example. I said, secondly, luck was very important as a cause of understanding of disease to help create many major discoveries. For example, Edward Jenner luckily moved to Gloucestershire and found milkmaids claimed they did not have smallpox due to cowpox. This helped an understanding of disease as Jenner took a chance and experimented on Jane's Phipps to show cowpox could prevent smallpox. This means luck helped the understanding of disease as doctors now realise that the four humours of miasma did not cause or prevent disease, but that other illnesses could somehow prevent other illnesses. Furthermore, in the 1900s, Fleming left his Petri dish out, and luckily penicillin landed on the dish, didn't it? This helped development of our understanding as doctors now understood that there was a panacea, a drug that could kill all bacteria, and ultimately proving that bacteria cause disease. So finally, we've got our religion paragraph. Okay, so again, go for it yourself. See if you can explain the impact of religion. We've got church promoting ideas of 4 humours there will be really, really important to talk about as a non-spiritual idea. So here's my idea then. So finally, religion was partly important as a cause of understanding of disease, as it enabled some early discoveries that took doctors away from supernatural ideas, as I just said. So, for example, in the medieval time, the Christian church initially promoted supernatural ideas like prayer as a cure, but then they turned to Galen's ideas of the 4 humours. They liked Galen because obviously he said that God created humans, and he talked about how the human body was perfect, didn't he? This helped in understanding disease, as the church promoted Galen's ideas of the 4 humours, with doctors being taught the idea in religious universities like Padua. This meant religion started to teach people to abandon supernatural ideas and instead balance the 4 humours. You could reference things like bleeding as a treatment. Furthermore, the Black Death in medieval time led to a decline in religious ideas, as 40 to 50% of the population died, including obviously many priests, and this showed people that supernatural ideas didn't work, and they turned to new ideas like miasma or the 4 humours. So finally, give a conclusion. So if you have explained 3 factors with 3 different time periods, and if you explained lots of impacts, you're looking really at 12 marks out of 16, which is fantastic. That's going to be a grade 9 answer. But try now to give a little bit of evaluation and comparison. So evaluate, give strengths and weaknesses, and compare them in your conclusion to show that you think individual genius is the most important. Have a look at those sentence starters so you can see how you can give strengths and weaknesses to different ideas and really highlight individual genius as the best. So go for that to see if you can get an extra couple of marks in a nice conclusion. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful and you've managed to develop your factor skills a bit more. So do keep working through the revision guide and finding more and more questions to practice your skills. And do have a look through my YouTube channel and keep an eye on that. There'll be more videos appearing for different topics. Okay, bye for now.